My BFI Player Plus choice this week is a spine-tingling 2001 masterpiece from Mexican maestro Guillermo del Toro, director of the Spanish-language hits Kronos and Pan's Labyrinth, and Hollywood blockbusters like Hellboy and Pacific Rim. A long-nurtured labour of love, it's a ghost story which perfectly blends the historical and the supernatural. The Devil's Backbone. Del Toro began work on The Devil's Backbone in the wake of two terrible events that he would jointly describe as the worst experience of my life: the kidnapping of his father, who was abducted in Guadalajara and held for ransom for 72 days, and the unravelling of his 1997 Hollywood debut, the mutant bug movie Mimic. Determined to devote all his energies to a project he really believed in, the writer-director returned to a script which he'd had on the back burner for 16 years. It paid off, he said, and I regained my independence. Set during the endgame of the Spanish Civil War, The Devil's Backbone has been described by Del Toro as part of a brother-sister pairing with Pan's Labyrinth. Its inspirations are far-reaching, ranging from 20th century political history to the ghostly tones of M.R. James's fiction to the Spanish graphic novel series Paracuelos by Carlos Jimenez, who worked as a storyboard artist on the film, via the overreaching spectre of Victor Aricci's The Spirit of the Beehive. Set largely in an orphanage, in the courtyard of which stands a giant unexploded bomb, recently the inspiration for Babak Anvari's Under the Shadow, The Devil's Backbone draws clear parallels between the plight of the orphans and the plight of Spain during what Del Toro called the precursor of all the fascist conflicts in Europe. It's a theme vividly realised on screen as these boys find themselves in the middle of nowhere in the hands of fascism. Roger Ebert described The Devil's Backbone as a mournful and beautiful ghost story that understands that most ghosts are sad and are attempting not to frighten us but to urgently communicate something that must be known so they can rest. J. Hoberman was equally astute, calling it an experiment in anti-fascist supernaturalism. One of the proudest moments of my own career was being asked to write the liner notes for the Criterion edition of The Devil's Backbone. It's one of my favourite films. A chiller which epitomises the recurrent themes that haunt Del Toro's work: the ghosts of history and the freedoms of fantasy, the relationship between the real and the imagined, between pain and beauty, death and rebirth, damnation and salvation.